Hey everybody, how's it going? Had a pretty great weekend. Hopefully you did too. I thought I would take an opportunity to talk about something that I really enjoy, which is vampires. I've been a big fan of vampires ever since I was a kid. I was really fond of them in movies. Obviously, there's things like The Lost Boys. If we go really old school, you got Nosferatu and obviously Dracula, the many incarnations of Dracula. But, I don't know. I've always been a fan, particularly of the White Wolf brand of vampires, including Vampire the Masquerade and pretty much that entire world. If you're not familiar with it, go check it out. It's still around. It's had some changes over the years, but it is most definitely still around. Specifically, I kind of did a binge watch of The Originals. The Originals is basically 1,000 years ago. There was this young boy who was bitten by a werewolf, and his mother, who was an incredibly powerful witch, essentially helped him and transformed him into a vampire. In the process, she also transformed all of their siblings and even their father into vampires, essentially creating the first vampires, or the original vampires. Fast forward to about 100 years ago, and the family of original vampires had settled into New Orleans. More or less, they basically helped create, form, and shape New Orleans into what it is today. After a series of events, the originals basically hightailed it out of New Orleans and were replaced by their successors. Their successors took over New Orleans and then shaped it into what it is literally today, essentially 2013, 2014. So let me tell you what I feel about the originals, okay? Going into it, I was incredibly excited. I'm thinking, okay, here's a show about vampires and werewolves and witches, oh my. And in the process, they are not sparkly, they are not sissies, they are not, some kind of a weird trait that makes them unique. They basically took good old-fashioned vampires that can kind of mind control people, that can move very quickly, are very strong. They don't necessarily fly, they don't necessarily do anything crazy or mystical. They're just very enhanced, and I like that. Keep the vampire relatively pure. The werewolves are not quite as tough or as powerful as I would like them to be. The witches are exceedingly powerful, especially in numbers. They are very powerful. And then you've got the human faction. The human faction are, well, they're just humans. Basically, their power really kind of truly is in numbers because there's just more of them. But at the end of the day, let's be honest, the supernatural entities would probably kick the crap out of most of the humans by any number on just about any number of day basis. Alright, so let's get into the originals. Alright, now the originals is essentially a spin-off of the Vampire Diaries, which I never watched, but most of the writers that are doing the originals were doing the writing for the Vampire Diaries. With that being said, it honestly, it feels like a soap opera for tweens. That's kind of basically what it feels like. Oh, I'm going to double cross you by doing this. Well, you can't do that because I'll kill your loved one. Well, you can't kill my loved one because I'll poison you with this. Well, you can't poison me with that because I'm truly immortal and cannot be killed. Well, you can be killed with this special stake. Well, you can't have that special stake because I cursed the wood with something and something bad will happen. Well, you can't curse me because I'll kill your loved one. And then the cycle kind of repeats and returns. It's this show, The Originals, I'm telling you, if you've never watched it and you're going to understand this. There are so many twists and turns and backstab, and I forgive you, but I'm going to work with you anyways, and I think I love you. I don't love you anymore because I don't trust you. I'm just trying to keep you safe and all of this. Oh my God, it never ends. It is this ongoing revolving door of deceit and deception. But yet everybody continues to work together and live together and love together and have fun together and party together and kill together and hate each other together. Oh my God. It's watching this show, honestly, it almost has more twists, turns, and backstabs than Game of Thrones. That's it. I said it. I went there. It is almost, honest to God, it is almost exhausting trying to keep track of who has backstabbed who more times. I'm sure there's probably a website that has a track of it, I'm sure. But overall, is the writing good? The writing is okay. A lot of the characters and the actors and stuff in it are pretty okay. So I'd like to kind of go through and kind of talk about, different kind of key members of the cast. Obviously, you've got Klaus, or Niklaus, depending on who you're talking to, or Nick, again, depending on who you're talking to. A couple people call him different things. Played by Joseph Morgan. Niklaus is incredibly manipulative. He is controlling. He is diabolical. He basically, honestly, he kind of gives Loki from Marvel Comics a big time run for his money. Then you've got Elijah Michelson, his elder brother, played by Daniel Giles. Again, he's a pretty good actor, but Elijah he's basically kind of like the middle ground for the family. He's essentially obviously he's the eldest brother, and he is trying to keep everybody peaceful. He's kind of he's kind of the good conscience of the trio of siblings. Then you've got Rebecca Michelson, played by Claire Holt. Rebecca's kind of an odd duck. She's a bit of an instigator. She's a bit of a victim. She's a bit of a arrogant little vampiress. No matter how you look at it, Rebecca is very caring and very self-serving. As long as it kind of helps her, but yet still protects Elijah, then it's good. She's not really a big fan of Niklaus. I think if it was up to her, she'd probably have him killed, but she kind of doesn't want to because he's still her brother, and it's just she's a mess. She's a hot mess, big time. One of the other major characters of the show is Haley Marshall, played by Phoebe Tonkin. Okay, so Haley Marshall. So first and foremost, her and Niklaus had a relationship. Niklaus, being a hybrid that he is, part werewolf, part vampire, he managed to get Haley pregnant. Haley's a werewolf. Now, Haley, the girl who plays Haley, now I'm watching the series and I got about 3 episodes in and I'm like, you look really familiar. And I couldn't quite place where I had seen her from. Lo and behold, she is I believe, Australian actress who was originally in a show about mermaids. And I know it because I watched it because my daughters really wanted to watch the show. And I'm like, oh, look, girls are mermaids. She turns out to be a pretty prominent character in this in a number of angles. She's pregnant with Niklaus's baby. She kind of falls in love with Elijah. She wants to be protected because of Auntie Rebecca. She is hated by the witches because her baby is 1/4 witch. She's really kind of, in a lot of ways, sort of the center of a lot of the conflicts and stories. After the originals originally left New Orleans, they were succeeded by Marcel. Marcel is played by Charles Michael Davis. This man, I mean, I'm telling you right now, this guy, I could listen to him talk and talk and talk forever. He just has this smooth timbre to his voice. oh, if he doesn't do like voiceover work, and I'm sure he may have, but if he doesn't, he needs to consider it because the man has a really smooth voice. As far as his character goes, Marcel just wants, honestly, he just kind of wants what's best for the city. He does do a lot of manipulation, he does a lot of control, specifically with an individual named Davina. Davina is a witch. She's an incredibly powerful witch. I'll spare you the detail, but she's a really, really powerful witch. She also happens to be a 16-year-old girl. So not only is she young and kind of inexperienced, but she's got excessive amounts of power at her disposal. Sophie Devereaux, another witch, played by Daniela Pineda, I like the character. I like the character and what she does, what she stands for, the fact that she's trying to help and all of this. I just cannot stand Daniela as an actress. I think that she belongs in soap operas and really tacky TV work. I think her acting is subpar at best. It is unnecessarily dramatic in points where there is no need for dramatic moments. Oh my God, it's unnecessary. And I'm sorry, Daniela, but I think that you were a wrong choice for this particular role. On the human side, you've got Cammy O'Connell. Cammy O'Connell is played by Leah, I believe it's Leah Pipes. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. Cammy is the niece of Pastor Keenan O'Connell, played by Todd Stashwick. Cammy is another very pivotal role in that she works a lot with all the different main characters, kind of the human element, keeping all the humanity amongst all the supernatural entities. Father O'Connell is really kind of the pillars of the community for the New Orleans area. He is well known, he is well respected by every entity. He's respected by the werewolves, he's respected by the witches, he's respected by everybody. The witches end up kind of turncoating him and kind of double-crossing him, but witches will do whatever witches want to do, and they'll do it for their own benefit. They don't care who they kill or hurt, because that's what the ancestors want. The whole ancestors thing got really overworked. I really hope they kind of like murder, so to speak, that particular portion of the story for future seasons, but I will find out later. And then you got, last but not least, one of the major characters is Michael. Michael is the father of the originals. He is a bad dude. He is a jerk. He is an abuser. He is a manipulator. He is a controller. He is a killer. He is just your all-around, all-purpose dingbat of a daddy. He is just a complete jerk. He is also pretty much the only entity in existence that Niklaus is really, truly afraid of. In fact, honestly, all three of the siblings are afraid of him. Michael has a couple of appearances throughout the series, most of which are kind of a resurrected entity, that sort of thing. Overall, he is just a total jerk. So with Michael, his role in all of this is to basically torment his children and basically kill them. Especially, he wants to kill Niklaus because he is an abomination. I'm telling you, these three poor little vampires have more daddy issues than the first 5 seasons of Supernatural combined. They are constantly in fear of their father, and Michael this and Michael that, and daddy this and daddy that, and our father this, and oh my God, shut up. It is only slightly more taxing than the daddy issues in Supernatural. Like, barely more taxing. Overall, is the originals worth watching? I think it is. The thing about the originals that really hurts it is binge watching it. Obviously, this show was not designed to be watched episode after episode after episode. By watching it episode after episode after episode after episode, it really does truly hurt what they were trying to do with the show. If you were to watch it once every couple of days or even once every week like it was designed, I don't think it would be that bad. However, if you do like what a lot of people do and you Netflix binge watch, it's gonna kind of ruin it. So, do I like it? Yeah, it's not bad. Do I like the story? Yeah, it's not bad. Do I like some of the details and the writing? No, not at all. It has a very, very soap opera kind of vibe to it, which is a huge turnoff. But in terms of the characters, the history, their powers, their abilities, their interactions and relationships with one another, I do enjoy that part of it. So, do I recommend it? Sure, why not? You must love supernatural entities, vampires, werewolves, witches, otherwise you wouldn't bother watching it at all. So, I'd love to hear what you think about it, so hit me up on Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube, or even on my website at ifigottogitup.com. Talk to you later.